The C is for consistent, man. We're back here on another Thursday. I got Parlay Pete with me, but before I bring him into the fold, let's talk about all in good faith. Sometimes we expect things in good faith, but you can't put good faith in bad actors. Brian Flores' firing and his subsequent lawsuit after sham interviews have kind of, showed us that the NFL hiring cycle is what it is. He's finally given us the opportunity to take the band-aid off and look at what we know it truly exists, acknowledge it, and he's given people the opportunity to take action and correct those actions. Now, the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule was implemented in order to give more minorities the opportunity to interview for jobs in the NFL, head coaching jobs and front office jobs. And the Rooney Rule works when there's good faith that the coach, that the GM candidate gets the opportunity to actually be heard, and the decision isn't already made before the interview even starts. Again, good faith. Players, coaches, owners kneeled with Colin Kaepernick. Not initially, but eventually they kneel with Colin Kaepernick. But who cares if you're not kneeling in good faith? We donated money. We put slogans on the helmets. We put slogans on the field. But who cares if this doesn't happen in good faith? Oh, we got a black coach here, a black GM there. But who really gives a damn if they're not there in good faith? If they're just there to make a quota, to get the pressure off of our back so then we can put the person we want in place, it doesn't matter. Or if we want to prove that they can't be successful because we don't give them the opportunity to succeed, it means nothing because it wasn't done in good faith. Hell, look at Miami. Black coach. Black GM. But it looks like the owner was trying to buy losses. Literally pay his coach to lose games. Is that employing them in good faith? Doesn't seem like it. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The draft. We reward the worst teams by giving them high-end draft picks because the thought is that they're going to play as hard as they can and they can't lose. So we reward them with a top pick, and that's done in good faith. But we got to take a serious look at this because you can't expect good faith from bad actors. And as much as I love football, as much as I love the NFL, we have to admit that the NFL is ran by a lot of bad actors. Yes, they make a lot of black people rich, a lot of poor people rich. They do things, but understand that this is done to benefit them because they make money off of these teams year in and year out. But think about the owner. For most of these owners, the football team is a novelty investment. It's a showcase like, hey, man, look at all these niggas I own. Look what they do for me. I give them a little bit of cheese and they dance until they can't dance no more. And guess what? We take better care of the commissioner after he leaves the NFL than we do the players who go out here and they bust their ass and play for us. But they're rich. They're powerful. And as long as they're turning a profit, at the end of the day, they're good. Then you have the players and the coaches. This is their livelihood. Yes, they're getting compensated for it, but their key to the next paycheck is their performance on the field or their players' performance on the field. So if they don't execute properly, they don't get paid next year, or they don't finish out that contract, or they don't get a favorable contract the next time they go to the negotiating table. We see it all the time, especially with running backs. You run them into the dirt on their rookie contracts, then you pay them cracker crumbs for their next contract, and they're getting league minimum for the next 5 years of their career. The fan. For us, man, it's entertainment. Oh, man, he shouldn't hold out. He should go play. You don't know what he's going through. Oh, the game has gotten soft now. It's flag football. Well, you're not the one out there getting beat up. You're not the one that's dealing with the concussions. You're not the one that's dealing with the lifelong injuries that can affect you, your ability to play with your kids, your ability to remember stuff, to be a high functioning human being. CTE is real. And every player takes a calculated chance when they decide to play the game at the highest level. But just because these risks exist doesn't mean we don't mitigate them. If you're in a plane and there's a storm, usually the pilot will go over it or around it. Not like, whoa, back in the day, we used to fly straight through the storm. Yeah, because we didn't know any better. But now that we know better, we should do better. If your doctor's using an outdated procedure, at some point it's going to change because, oh, we can attack this surgery better. I like Cam Akers coming back from a torn Achilles 5 months later. That used to be a career ender, and he's back 5 months later and almost had 100 yards back in his 100 yards rushing in his first game back. But then the gambler, you got the gambler. And it's important to talk about the gambler here because if you talk about a coach trying to fix games and buy losses or incentivize his coach to lose financially, that hurts the gambler. And the gambler is a combination of all three. The gambler is the fan, the gambler is the player, and the gambler is the owner, because guess what? The gambler is living off of this. This gambler's making money. Some do it for fun, some do it for real. Some do it for entertainment because they enjoy watching a game and it's like, hey, let's put some extra money on here. And some gamblers who are true professionals are so invested into gambling properly, setting lines, knowing lines, man, it's a whole ecosystem out here. It's a whole economy out here on gambling. And the gamblers have some ownership in this. They have some buy-in in this. And they are also entertained by it. So if not protecting the fans, if not protecting the players, you got to protect a whole nother economy too, man. Come on now. But I got a solution. I have a solution. And I think owning a football team is a privilege. It's not your right. It's not your right to own this football team. And just like the players have to compete, the coaches have to compete, the executives have to compete to keep their jobs, I think the owners should have to compete. I think the owners should have to show a certain level of competence, a certain level of performance in order to maintain ownership of their teams. Now, will the owners agree to this? Hell no, because it's their team. But if you really want to clean up the league, if you really want the owners to be more inclusive and sincerely inclusive, you got to get rid of the bad apples, because the bad apples will spoil the bunch. But guess what? When you can't get the bad apples out because they're all the way at the bottom and you're not strong enough to pick the good apples off the top, your bunch dies. And for the draft, for the teams who are tanking, who are buying L's, here's my thing for you. Instead of the draft order going from best record to worst record, of the non-playoff teams, we go from best record gets the best pick, and the worst record gets the worst pick of those non-playoff teams. And I bet you'll see less tanking. I bet you'll see less teams giving up, benching starters, keeping people on the injured reserve, keeping them out of games when they could play. Because guess what? You're incentivized to get into the playoffs because you're trying to win a championship. And if you're not getting to the playoffs, you're no longer incentivized to lose games. You're incentivized to win games. And, but at the end of the day, as long as we have these bad actors and this bad faith, ain't shit gonna change.